Okay, so we've got a couple of things to show you, and this is David, and what have you brought in for us today?
I've brought in some old cameras, and I thought Colin might be very interested in looking through them and have a play with them. And
that sounds great. So I'm going to pass the camera over to David, and let's have a look, see what we've got in the box. Okay, so I can see two matching cameras here. I've actually never seen one of these, and I've seen a lot of cameras. Agfas. And in their case, they're called an Agfa Clack, and still working, and they could be cleaned up actually, so they're neat to see. Something a little bit different, you don't see every day. Slight difference there. What else we got? A Balder. Goodness gracious, could be English or European. And so let's open that up. So these cases, these can be a full case, or we call it a half case. You just disconnect that, and then there's your camera for the day. Lovely old camera actually. How do you make the shutter go on this one? I'll have to have a little bit of a think about that, but neat old camera. Prontor SVS lens, Balder, Westerner. Be interesting to know where that comes from. Neat little camera. Look at this little cutie. A little brownie, a little Kodak. Lovely, looks very 50s, doesn't it?
yeah,
That's a great little camera. The star on top. And then we got Paxette. Fantastic little Braun Paxette. Oh, this one's a little bit, needs a little bit of a clean. Oh, it looks like my name on the lens. Stable. Interesting. I like the Paxette. Gee, that's worth cleaning up. You could put a film through that actually. Worth doing, I might do that. Another Kodak. Can't go wrong with the Kodaks. Little Kodak Pony 4. Looks about 50s, 60s maybe. Sort of screams the 60s. Oh, you got all sorts of goodies in here. Oh my goodness. This is funny. So this is a Kodak disc film. We just had a Kodak disc film come in for developing, for scanning. And so that has a disc very much like the Viewmaster, and so it's got about half a dozen photos all the way around it, quite low resolution. You can see the Kodak disc sits in the back. A little bit of an interesting one for a collector. Got to have one of those in your collection if you collect Kodaks. So here's a little twin lens. So this is a Fotina, and of course we can pop that up and have a look at that. Goodness gracious. And there you go, you can look down on there, you'll be able to see me. And a couple more in here. A little light meter. Oh no. So this is like a, I don't know quite what that does. You set the distance. Oh, it's a viewfinder. Wow. It's got two little viewfinders and you look out through one. Not quite sure what that does, but it's quite interesting. And two more in the box. Another little Agfa. We see quite a few of these. This takes a 127 film. A little ISO rapid with a f1.8. And the last one in the box. This is interesting. Look at that. It's a iSing Pucky 1. That's a cute little camera. I'd say that'd take a 120 film, and you could have a lot of fun with this. You clean that lens up, and there you go. So David, thank you very much for sharing.
that's all right. Very good.
Okay, so David's actually got a question on his modern Sony that he got here the other day. This is an HX90, and what was your question?
I just want to know how to clean the screen on the back. It tilts, so it's really good for looking at viewing
Different angles.
cathedrals and things, so you don't have to get on your back and look.
But it's getting a bit
tilt screen, and it's getting a bit sticky and
Okay.
worse in sunlight.
Right. Okay. So the trick to that, so just a bit of advice on that. Everyone can listen to this. So I can see it's got fingerprints. That's pretty normal. So I'm just going to use a lens cloth and just a little bit of moisture, clean it with a cloth, and that'll be perfect. The other thing you could do with an HX90 is pop the viewfinder up, and then I would just get used to using the viewfinder on those really bright days. But let's keep that clean, nice and clean and tidy, and the viewfinder as well. Yeah, there you go. I just thought I'd share with you what we've actually discovered with the screen. So normally I will just a little bit of moisture from my breath and then just wipe it with a cloth. You can do the same with the lens very successfully. I learned this from an old 1960s lens cloth instruction. So just, and then a little bit of a clean and it'll come up. And I'm going to actually show you, there isn't actually a problem with the screen, and I'll show you what that is in a moment. But what we did with this particular camera, because it's a bit dusty, lens right out, just gently wipe around the barrel, and you can turn it off, you can turn it on again, you can repeat that a couple of times, just to get rid of any grit. But see, it's just pausing a little bit. It actually just errored just then, went back in again. It's impeded by sand. So I'm just going to tell you a sneaky trick on how to fix that. You get a vacuum cleaner, take the pipe off, and then you can actually, if you're gentle, you put a pin in here, gentle, and you're just going around. The reason you have to be gentle is there's wiring in there you can damage. So if you don't, you could try it without the pin first. Put the vacuum cleaner on, and basically there's your pipe. Put it against the pipe, turn the camera on, turn the vacuum cleaner on, and it's just going to pull the lens out. Works every time. And if you need to, run that pin around. So we might have to do that. But I'm just going to zoom the camera out and clean it again. Bit of moisture this time, because I can sort of see that sand's getting in and a little bit behind the lens. But that's how you fix that. Okay, now the issue with the screen, and you probably won't be able to see, but the anti-reflective coating is damaged all the way over it. And so what damages anti-reflective coating is suntan lotion. So we're going to have to fully remove this coating to make it easier to see, because it's just hard to look at, same as a computer screen that gets damaged coating. So suntan lotion is actually in makeup. So if you use the camera up to your eye, like if you're using the viewfinder, you will get a damaged screen. And the way you remove that coating fully is with orange cleaner from the supermarket. So it needs to have the citric orange in it, and then you just wipe it. It'll fully remove that coating, but your screen will look brand new. And I just thought I'd share that with you today. Okay, so we've got Steve come back to visit, and he's going to show us a couple more cameras that he's been restoring and using. So what have you got today, Steve?
Right, well, today I've got a couple of cameras from the 1930s, both German, medium format, so they both take 120 standard format film, but it's very different design between the two of them. So this is about 1937 Voigtlander, and this is about 1938 Zeiss Iconta. So if we talk about the Voigtlander first glance you think, oh, that's a twin lens reflex, but it's actually not. This lens at the top doesn't focus, it's purely as a viewfinder, acts as a viewfinder. So because it doesn't focus, you get a very, very bright viewfinder. Okay.
Can we have a look at an image? So if we just look down.
Can you see that?
Fantastic.
It's a very, very bright viewfinder.
It is a bright viewfinder.
And in fact, the camera's called the Brilliant. Not brilliant, brilliant.
Brilliant.
But everyone calls them Brilliant because they expect the eye to be there. So this is made by Voigtlander. It's a well-known camera
you can
maker.
see it on the front here.
Yeah, it says Brilliant, yeah. Standard 120 format, so you load it much the same way as any other 120 camera.
Do you tape yours on, or you just push it through the take-up spool?
No, I just push it through.
Do you? I tape mine on.
But
it shouldn't.
I've got time to tape on. So though it's not actually, it's more like a fancy box camera because it's just a fancy viewfinder, but it's got a Voigtlander lens, and they're very, very sharp lenses, and also quite a good quality Compo Rapid shutter. So because of that, it really gives you quite good quality shots.
And you've brought along a sample image to show from us today.
Yes.
Which is a treat.
So this is a 6x6
6x6.
format, so you get 12 shots in 120.
6x6 centimeters. Look at that.
So that's I think that's what 12 by 12 enlargement, and that's just from an average scan. It's not the highest resolution.
So it's just
scan.
a flatbed scan as opposed to a drum scan.
Yeah.
And just with my eye, this looks fantastic.
It takes a really good shot actually.
Yes.
For an 85-year-old camera. It's really, really quite impressive. So that's a nice shot.
Very nice.
So slightly younger, so this is a couple of years younger, is this little Zeiss Iconta.
Slightly younger.
So this actually has a little all uncoated lenses, of course, so you can tend to get some lens flare if you're shooting towards the sun. So it's always like a good idea to have a lens hood.
Which you just don't see that often, to be honest.
No,
It's not the original lens hood.
It's not the original, but it fits, and getting one to fit was a good start. Actually.
Indeed.
So this is again, there's no focusing aids here. It's a simple frame through a simple pop-up frame. You focus just simply by using the distance scale.
What? How many millimeters is the lens? I mean, I suppose we could almost measure it to the film plane. Is it like a 50 mil or something? Is it?
Let's have a look. If we take this off, it's 75.
There you go.
75. Because remember, it's not a full. This is a 6x6 with a sort of full size frame. This is almost a half frame. So quite often you go 6x9. Is quite the large format. You get off 120. This is 4.5x6, so it's half that size. So
few more
where you
shots.
normally get 8, you actually get 16 shots, and that's the film you should be using with it. If you could get some of that in for me, Colin, I'd like that.
Give me 50 years negative, and I'll get that for you for sure.
So because it's half frame, of course, you've got 2 red windows because you put the one in there, take your first shot. You can advance the one to there, you take your second shot, and then you've got 2 shots. What would have been just on one shot on the full frame.
Oh, really? And so you have the film in one position, you take an exposure there and then an exposure there?
That's right.
I learned something to
And
that.
then you wind on to have 2 in there, take your shot, and then wind 2 onto there and take your second shot. There, you've taken 4 shots, just on 2 exposures.
That's great, isn't it? And have you got a sample image from that?
I have.
Oh, you're giving us a treat today. There we go.
This is from down the South Island.
Oh, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great little village to take shots in.
Yeah. They are talking about actually getting the Kingston Flyer going again, but I don't know whether it's actually going to happen. So.
Well, it's just sitting there under the roof, though, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got it all there, but it's just a matter of getting all the.
Oh, that's a great
Missions
spot for photos, isn't it? I mean, you've got the lake right next door.
I like that simply because of the railway line and it takes the eye into the mountain gorge and everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's again from half size negative.
We'll just choose the
Very good, and thank you very much for sharing. Appreciate it.
and that's when you choose the size, etc.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so while Steve's here, he's picking up a box of very rough cameras. There's some interesting German cameras in there, but he's just been showing me some interesting stuff about this Agfa Clack, and if you'd like to share that with us, Steve.
Okay, well this is actually a German camera too, made by Agfa, built down to price, so it's a very simple Bakelite box in effect. There's not much to it. It's got just one shutter speed, so you don't have to think about what shutter speed you choose, and you just got 2 settings for the aperture. You've got dull or bright. Dull, bright, and just flicks a different size aperture over the lens.
See the aperture, that's lovely.
The lens is just a very simple meniscus lens, so it's not very complicated at all. But what Agfa have done to try to actually maximise the sharpness, if you look, the back plane of the film is actually curved, so it actually reflects the curvature of the lens. Consequently, even though these are really cheap, they really take quite good sharp pictures for their simplicity.
So put a black and white 120
and light
through it.
as loaded 350 grams. That's with the film. And you stick I've taken colour and black and white photographs of these, and they come out surprisingly good. So everyone should have one of these because you can pick them up for $5-10, clean them up, put a film in, and they're fun camera to use.
And it's a 120.
They don't break. They just keep on going. There's nothing to break.
Well, while we've got the camera rolling, do you want to dig through this box and see if anything of interest to you? And I thought this was a rubbishy old thing, but you said this is a little bit interesting, this
Well,
film.
believe it or not, some of the early disc cameras, Kodak disc cameras, that's where the actual image is stored on a built-in disc. I've heard that people are starting to collect these. I haven't got one, so I'd have to actually
Well,
look up how it
I'll
works.
go inside and get one, and if you just want to carry on videoing and just show us what's in here,
Okay.
and I'll bring you out a Kodak disc film.
There we are. So I'm not sure what else we got here. There's a Boulder. So that's a straightforward viewfinder camera. Nothing special as such. This says Kodak. What have we got inside? A Pony 4. So again, this is fairly straightforward, simple film camera. It's missing its winding knob there. There's a second clack, so there's 2 clacks here, which is good. I'll make good use of those. And this is called a Icing Pucky 1, which I've got no idea who made that or much about it, but obviously it's a little pseudo 120, looks like 120 film. It's one of those pseudo TLRs. It's actually, again, it's just a viewfinder on the top and you focus in the normal way.
What do you think this is, Steve?
Right, this is actually a rangefinder. So if you've got a simple camera like this, normally you have to guess the distances to focus. This is a rangefinder that fits into the accessories slot.
For the cold shoe.
And again, looking here, you've got two images split. So it's exactly the same as the rangefinder I described last time. You look in through here, there's an image splitter here, and then you turn this to rotate.
To focus.
Rotates the mirror here, and then read off the scale the distance. So it's a very simple rangefinder. I've got a few of these because they're handy to pop on top of cameras, and it gives you. It's not coupled, obviously. You have to then read the distance and then set that distance down here on the focusing ring. You've got to look the other way around. You're looking the wrong end.
It's gone smaller, not bigger.
I don't know whether it works. As I have a look in there, there should be.
It's totally
a yellow
cross-focusing.
dot.
So what I'm seeing is the image is cross-focusing,
Right.
and then I set my distance,
Yeah.
and then like Steve says, you can just read it off
You
the
read off
meter.
the distance, and then you transfer that to the camera.
Very cool. Okay, so I brought out a Kodak disc film. Now, if you work in a photo lab and someone brings these in USI, they're very hard to scan, and I'll show you how it works. It looks very much like a Viewmaster. Obviously, these were only around for a couple of years, so they're a little bit rare. And we'll have a look inside. Very low quality image because it's small, much like a Kodak one or just a 110 film. Not a lot of data in it, but here is a Kodak disc film. So if you can see that, this is a color film, obviously, a negative, and you can see the frames. So there's actually 15 frames there. On the top of my head I was thinking it's 12, but it's actually 15 frames. And so you can just put it on a flatbed scanner, select that area and scan it. I did once make a template frame thing, but at the end of the day I had black around it and so forth. Just set your crop box. You just need to be careful of your scanning height. You got a bit of height there. So on a flatbed scanner like an Epson Perfection, for example, there's two different settings. There's either transparency or wide transparency. The difference is a transparency will scan slightly off the glass, which is this. Wide transparency will scan flat on the glass. So you've got transparency is high, wide transparency is low. So just check your scanning sharpness before you scan a whole lot or something like this.
So Colin, that's smaller than 110. So
Exactly.
what sort of size print could you actually realistically get off those?
Well, the problem you'll have, Steve, is when you're scanning a negative, you want to increase your resolution so that you can have a bigger file size and a bigger print, but you can't because you get a Moira effect. So a Moira effect is when you see like someone's wearing stripes on a video and you get those squiggles.
Yeah.
You get exactly that effect on your negatives when you scan them. So you'll just be backwards and forwards, checking what resolution you can scan at until you get a Moira effect. If you're doing a negative on a flat surface, you want to have it down really firm. That reduces the Moira effect. But essentially, if you imagine the light is going through it and reflecting off as well as the light coming through the top, and so you are fighting to get a decent image. So we'll always do a 6x4, but only just.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, there we go. It's a box of goodies, and it's good to see what comes with it. So.
I hadn't actually realised exactly how these disc cameras work before, so I've learned something today too.
Yeah, there
Excellent.
you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Cheers. No problem.
Catch you next time. One more thing we'll quickly share. We just opened up this other Agfa Clack to have a look.
Yeah, this one hasn't.
And it's got a yellow filter for your black and white. So if we just switch that once, and then again, there's your yellow filter. And just to increase your contrast in your landscapes.
So a big improvement on this. We didn't have it, so now you got the two settings.
Mark 1 and Mark 2. There you go. Cool. Okay, me and Steve just get to chatting and we just don't stop, so we'll share this with you as well. And so we're talking about different cameras and different formats. Like you got 620 film, you got 120 film, and then you got 127, which is no longer available. And of course, you can find old stuff. But Steve said he respools 120 into 127. He's going to show us how he does that.
Okay, so this is a 120. It's a Brownie, so it's a Kodak Stylet camera. It uses 120 size film. So if you look at the size, that's a 127. Sorry, it's a 127 film. It's 127 spool. You can see it's significantly narrower than a standard 120. You can buy this online, but it's something ridiculous, like $35, $40 a roll.
Oh, for new stuff.
Yeah.
New stock, right.
But that's mostly it's people respooling it and selling it.
Right.
But what you can do, and I've done this a few times now, and it works. You know those cigar cutters where you put your fingers in, you can put the cigar and snip the end off, is the idea.
Right.
If you get one that's big, because some of them aren't big enough, they've got small size. Go on for big fat cigars.
So it needs to get over around
It
that.
needs to get over the end of a 120 roll. You can actually put it onto the. I even know which one of these lines is 127 now. Okay, but you can actually just mark on there where it is, and then you just get it set. Then you have to put it all into a light-proof bag, and then you simply just twist it, and you can feel it cutting through the film until you get down to the plastic. You should feel it when you get to the plastic. Sometimes I don't feel it, and I cut the whole lot off because the cigar cutter's pretty sharp.
Yeah.
You end up then you've got a roll of film which is the right width. So you have to have two of these in that light bag with you, and you have to make sure you roll in the right way because not all of them. Well, this one's okay. This has got actually the little cross piece, T-piece on both ends. Some of them only have on one end. So if you roll it the wrong way round, you won't be able to actually drive it once you put it in the actual drive.
You won't be able to take
and
it
the
up.
spool won't take up. So you make sure it's the right way round, and then you carefully put that end bit you have to fold into there and roll all off onto one spool, and then you end up with all that film sitting on here. But of course, it's got the end of the film on the outside and the beginning of the film on the inside. So that's when you get your other 120 spool, put it in there, and then roll it back the other way. And make sure it's nice and tight because 120 tends to be a bit fatter than 127. So you'll find out a 120, once you've rolled on there, it comes out a little bit more than the 127 normally would.
But you can put a whole 120 roll through a 127 usually?
I've done that. You make sure it's nice
just
and
tight.
tight. Yeah.
Nice.
And it very much depends on what camera you're going to put it in. If it's a sort of a camera that's got plenty of space,
Yes, like a clad.
when I put it into my little Kodak vest pocket, which
Right.
is 1915, it's a very tight fit. So it was a bit stiff,
Yeah.
but it did work. But you got to practice doing all that in the dark,
That's right.
of course, and not be able to see what you're doing.
That's the game though, isn't it? So yeah, thanks for sharing. That's how you put 120 film onto 127.
Cheers.